Who calls you Elisa?
Well, my family does, and then most of my friends call me Ellie, but I like both. I mean, I don't really have a preference,
So
really.
like your family, not the pranic family.
Yes, my family, like blood
Okay,
family.
okay. And where are they from, like originally? The blood.
Well, you mean my name? Ah, that's a good question. I don't know. I think it's probably Portuguese, I assume, but I'm not quite sure. So yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
my family,
because
half of it is Portuguese and half of it is Brazilian. So yeah.
oh, so half is Portuguese and Brazilian.
Yeah, my family is Portuguese and Brazilian. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Because you remind me, Elisa, of one of my good friends. She's from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Her name is Luisa.
Well, Louis here probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, Luisa, Elisa, I can do this. I was like,
Yeah, there you go.
awesome,
Yeah, it's easy.
awesome, awesome, beautiful. Well, where can we start? So you said just a brief introduction of ourselves.
Yeah, you can go ahead and talk a little bit about yourself, and then I can do an introduction for those people that don't know me as well. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay, beautiful. You know, I see myself just as a seeker. I enjoy learning. I really have a burning and a yearning for learning more. And I feel like all these conscious conversations and these social interactions that we have with each other can put more pieces of the puzzle together. I had a conversation earlier today about putting those pieces of the puzzle. Like every person is like their own puzzle in a way. And each time that we interact with each other, it's like conversation cuisine, divine dining with this dance of dialogue that we have together. But we're also learning parts of ourselves when we learn about someone else. So I enjoy interacting in that way. And I feel like today it's constantly expanding. So once again, just thank you for having this space for others. Yeah.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's a really honor to have you here. So I'm excited. Yeah, so I'll just talk a little bit about me. So actually the reason that and sorry about my dog. You guys probably hear him barking at times. So yeah, he's out
What's his
there.
name?
Um, Manga, that's mango in Portuguese. Yeah,
Manga.
manga.
Manga. Awesome.
Yeah, so he's out there. But anyway, so about me, right? So I think the same. I think people should connect more and we should talk about things that aren't really spoken about and perhaps bring more people towards like really connecting to their feelings and understanding where they come from. So it's good. It's really nice to have people that I can relate to, and you are an inspiration. You've been an inspiration for quite some time, even before Pranic Family. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. I was checking something out and I noticed that we actually started the path very close to each other. Like if you can recall, what was it, April of 2020 or the 20th of April 2020, you recall where you were?
Yes, I was living where I'm living right now, and basically, I was having my 21-day process
Mm-hmm.
then. That was my first sort of real dive within what's fasting, really, because I used to do like intermittent fasting for a while, but it's not the same thing. So it's just, yeah. So that was where I was. Yeah. So that was really nice. Yeah.
Right. So you're 21 day, and who was Paloma Baldi? Who is that?
Yeah. So she's one of the people here in Brazil that offer that type of retreat. Um, She was amazing. Like she was almost like a mom to me throughout my 21-day process. She would come and talk to me for hours, and it was nice. It was almost like being nurtured by a mom. So she was my guide throughout that process, really. So yeah.
Okay. And what even got you on the path to that process? Like what even put you in that direction? For a lot of people it can be different things, but for you, what was it?
I think it was more like testing my limits in the beginning. Like the first thing that came to me was like 21 days. Well, not sure if I can do this, but I really want to try it. And before that too, I was being sort of like trying to study more about fasting, and then I got into like Breatharianism. I heard about it and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy, but I believe it. I'm pretty sure that this is possible, you know. So and then I started researching, and then I found out about jasmine, like most people do, and well, that took me where I am right now, really. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
it was amazing. How about yourself? When was the first time that you also heard about it, and how
Yeah.
did you start?
So the first time I heard about it was in 2019, and I just heard about it. But the first time I did the process was in January of the same year you did yours, you know? So we did ours like just months apart, had no idea, just a completely new journey. And I saw when you know, I really felt that familiar feeling that when I witnessed you, you was like in 7 days dry. You did a video where you were talking about just being dry for that long. And I think you called it, was it like Desert Week?
Yeah, we call it Desert Week in Brazil.
Desert Week. I was like, whoa, that sounded intense.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
It
so,
was amazing.
so when you say it was amazing, like if you can recall, what were some of the feelings? Because for me, I felt like I started to become tapped in with my whole environment, you know, everything around me. And I recall you said you were almost like you were getting in tune with another Elisa, you know? It was like your superior self, your higher self. You had conversation. So what was it like that?
It was just like sort of unveiling something that I had no idea was there before, you know, like being able to actually connect with what I am really, like what I truly am. And I don't know, it's so hard to describe it. Like in looking back, it's almost like I didn't know Elisa then.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the first time that I was introduced to myself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so this is you. This is really you, you know. This is not like something that is just being covered by layers of food and drinks and talking to people all the time, because I was trying to be silent most of the time too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was deep. Probably same for you. So it was really deep.
Wow. And you know, when we're talking about getting in tune with ourselves at that deep level, for some people, they don't go down this route or they don't make that profound of a change either due to, you know, inspiration or desperation, you know, and some people have a combination of both to have that to be able to lead them to do something drastic that they would call, you know, to do something that is way out of the norm, you know. But for you, you said you were testing your limits. What did you feel like needed to be tested at that time?
Um, I felt, because well, my dad is a doctor, you know, so even though I believed in everything that I read, and I felt that Breatharianism was the thing, and I think it's my path. I'm just walking along in pranic family. That's us, right? So anyway, um, so I knew that was my path, but I heard so many people questioning it when I was talking about it, and I was like, okay, I need to test myself. I need to test my limits and see where I go with this, and that was the main reason for going ahead and doing it. And it was interesting because when I finished the process, when my very last day, I decided to write myself a letter. I still have it. It was really nice because I talked about the whole thing, and I said, you can, Elisa, the future Elisa, you cannot forget what you did here, you know, so you have to take this on and remember it and read this letter every time that you think that you're starting to forget about it. Just read it again. So I still have it, and it's probably like worn out because I've been reading it every once in a while. So yeah, so
Wow.
it was crazy. He was really good, crazy good.
What's one of the things in the letter that you wrote to yourself that when you read it, it keeps you going, or you captured that energy like a time capsule?
Mm. I think the main thing on the letter that always strikes me, and when I read it, I'm like, man, I wrote this. It's this part about not letting the outside circumstances just take me where they where it wants to take me, and just being the person to take on the reins and not control my life, but guide it, because we know that there's no control, but guide it towards where I want to go. So that was the main thing on my letter. And I remember that when I look back to, like, after the process, how everything happened, the past few years, actually, like 2.5 years-ish, there were moments that I completely forgot about that I sort of lost track of my actual routine, and I just didn't realize what I was doing. And I went back into like automatic mode, and I wasn't really living it. So I was like, okay, wait, breathe, go back to it, read it again. You're capable of doing this. So it was basically that. So it was really good.
Wow. So you're like, you were your own cheerleader, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
In sort of way.
like rooting for yourself. You've got this, you know? Yeah. And Elisa, I love what you say about not controlling it, but guiding it, you know? Because I'm sure you've heard of the saying that a teacher is never a giver of truth, but they're kind of like a guide or a pointer to the truth that each student must find for themselves, you know?
Mm.
So how would you say that Paloma was a perfect guide for you, or a perfect teacher in that way during that time?
Yeah, she would just tell me, like, she would actually ask me, like, how are you feeling? And then all the time she would, okay, but why do you think you're feeling that? She would almost like not give me any answers, but she would help me sort of dive deeper, you know? And then at moments I was like, oh my God, okay, so this is that. And she's like, well, that's for you. So if you feel that's the way, yeah, good. So we'd have like long conversations about several things, especially like the fear of death, because we talk about that all the time. Like, so yeah, everything that we talk about in terms of food, eating, not eating, all of it comes down to like fearing death, you know? So anyway, so that was really interesting, and it was good because I understood that for most people, this whole subject can be sort of taboo because they think, well, I can't do this, I'll die. So that's like the main thing. And then once we started looking into that, the first week was the week that I sort of dove into that. So it was just like looking at all the sort of aspects of what fasting really is, and then understanding that what I was doing wasn't fasting at all. So it was like, I'm not depriving myself like people say that we are when we're fasting. I don't feel deprived at all. So this is not fasting. So it's incredible, you know. So I think it is a tool. I think when we're on this path, this journey in general, like the pranic journey, whatever you want to call it, fasting is a tool, but it's not pranic, you know. So if we feel that we're deprived of something, this is not being pranic or not being connected with what the energy is. So I realized that throughout the process. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you're saying you didn't have that feeling like you were merely surviving or that you were depriving, but you were thriving.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I love this. I love this. So when you said, Elisa, that, you know, your mentor, your teacher at the time, Paloma, when she didn't give you an answer, do you felt like if she did give you the answers to your questions directly, would you have dived deeper?
Probably not. Because I think that's also the way that it goes with like children. They ask several questions. Most of the time we don't really know how to answer them. But for that reason, they'll keep on searching and doing their own thing and trying to find the answers, you know. If we get, there's an expression that we have here in Brazil that is like, if someone gives you something with kissed hand, it's like they give you so easily that is like a kissed hand. We have this expression in Portuguese like mão beijada, so it's like kissed hand, you know. If someone gives you that, yeah, mão beijada. Someone gives you something too easy, you probably won't value it. And it's just like, well, fine. It's almost like the butterfly thing, right? You know, it's the cocoon, and then if it doesn't really force its way out of it, it won't be strong enough, you know, to actually go ahead and do it and live. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That is one of the most extraordinary concepts. Like what you just said there, it blows my mind because I did hear that it's almost like if you were to try and force it open, that the butterfly would be crippled, wouldn't be able to fly, but that it opening its own cocoon actually gives it the strength that it needs for
Yeah.
flight, you know?
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
wow. Wow. So you were able to do that, you felt, to give yourself
Yeah,
that?
I think so.
Mhm.
And then for the past, so I had like in 2021, so yeah, last year,
Mhm.
um, I had a moment, I had like 4 months in my life that I was really depressed. And I completely went out of the path that I thought was the path
Right.
for me. And it was interesting though, because in a way it sort of taught me that it doesn't matter where you are, you can always come back, you know. It doesn't really matter. And then eventually 2022, 2022 are we? Yeah, I keep forgetting which year we are in. But anyway, so yeah, so it was just easier, you know. When the year started, I was like, well, I think I can do this. It's fine. Yeah, let's just retrace my steps and see where I got lost and just take it from there. And it was interesting because I met loads of people this year. Um, Maybe like people that were just an online sort of person that would follow, kind of like you. I had never really talked to them, never had contact, just watched the videos. So loads of those people started to be more of a part of my life, you know. So I felt that I was actually connecting with the people that would help me on this path.
Mhm.
And not helping me as in a way of like, okay, I'll help you, but just listening to them and having that vibration, the energy, and like what helped me manifest really what I wanted in my life. So it's been kind of like that. And some
Yeah.
of those people are here in this life that I know. I've seen the names coming up. So, so thank you.
I love
And yeah.
when you talked about earlier, you know, for people who ever have a calling to a different lifestyle or a way of living, and they feel like they've been given a sign, but then somewhere along the line they think they fell out of alignment, you know. For you, if you were in that depressing period or that downward spiral, for others, when it comes to the blame, the guilt, and the shame, you know, all those games, what was it for you that you feel like had you down? And then what lifted you up and empowered you to say, I can always come back, no matter what, you know?
Um, I think there was one moment that I actually I had all of those videos, the one that you watched too, and I was like, I was watching to the video, I was like, oh my God, I can feel the energy coming out of that me, and then why am I doing this? Like I can actually feel the different energy from that Elisa back then, and this is just it doesn't make any sense for me to just go down this sort of spiral, depressive spiral that that's not me, you know. So that was one thing that sort of pulled me out. It was my own video and my letter as well. But there were just stories of people that would have like really tough upbringings, or and then there's this book. What's his name again? There's this book. I think it's like I always forget the title, but it's something like live. It's not Living on Light. Is it's from this guy who I think is German, maybe Michael. Man, I'm terrible with names, but anyway, I'll remember that later. So I was reading that book because he said that when he started his journey, he was obese and he was like really sick,
Mm.
and he started understanding it a bit more. He came across this one woman there that didn't eat at all, and then he decided to try it, and he was a chemist.
Mm.
So for him, it made lots of sense, and he just believed it. And I think he's been a few years now without food. And it's interesting to just see how people that have like different upbringings, not necessarily went through raw vegan and just jumped straight into it, you know? So I was like, well, it's not supposed to be hard, it's supposed to be easy. But, yeah.
Right. Wow. Wow. So there were some books or things that you read that cleared some things up for you, or maybe even gave you more confidence along the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think, well, you will know that better than anyone, really. But for most people that hear about breatharianism or panic living, they'll be like, okay, no food whatsoever. And that's not really it. It's like, that's not the thing. It's just about being free to choose. And then if you don't want to eat, don't want to drink, fine. If you want to drink, fine too. Like, do whatever, but just don't be a sort of like food prisoner, you know, like being caught up in that sort of web of like having to eat, and then you're not really hungry, but anyway, that's your habit, and what would people say? And you know, so it's just kind of trying to break free from that. So food freedom. So I think that's the path, really.
Right. When you just said about what will people say, I think that's one of the biggest things that we get caught up in is the judgment of others, you know, how other people perceive us. Did you ever have that feeling, or was that ever a barrier or anything for you when it came to how others saw you in that light?
Yeah. Actually, when I left the 21-day process, my dad picked me up, and I lost a bunch of weight. I'm like nowhere close to what I was. I was really thin, like super thin. But I felt amazing. I was like, I didn't really care. I actually felt like prettier than ever. And my dad just looked at me and was like, oh my God, you look so frail. I don't want to hug you. You're going to break in half. And I was like, oh God, don't start it. Because like I really felt that it wasn't going to start through him. But that's how it happened. And then eventually my partner too, and everyone was like super over about it. Like, no, you can't do this. You have to go back eating. Come on, sit here. I'm going to give you this piece of bread. I'm like, I don't even eat bread. No. So yeah, so people were like trying to control it, but probably because they were scared and trying to care for me. But it was just too much, and it didn't help in the beginning. But and then naturally, I was feeling great, but then naturally I started questioning: am I really doing that great? Am I looking in the mirror and seeing like things that are not there? So I started questioning myself. You know, like maybe I don't know. Maybe something happened, and I just changed my mind, and these things are coming here are not my thoughts, and I started questioning everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a contrast, because during the retreat, I recall you saying that you were shedding so many layers of like fears, doubts, and worries, and different things that had been in your mind and in your field. But when you left and you got back into the field of others, when you had that coming at you, that wave of energy, do you feel like certain doubts start to sprout?
Yeah. I think because there's this thing about um, my design, my human design. You probably know yours, but I have this. Most of my energy points, they're all open, so I absorb a lot. You know, so I absorb from the environment, I absorb from people, and sometimes that kind of confuses me because I confuse what's theirs with what's mine. And I didn't know that before, I think last year. That's when I started studying human design a little bit more. And I understood that I have some aspects of me that are mine, for sure. They won't have any interference. But there are other aspects of myself that will have lots of interference if I'm not aware of them. So it's just like, oh God, this is making me crazy. I'm questioning everything, and like, but it's not me. It's everyone else that's questioning it. So yeah.
Wow. So how were you able to face it?
I don't think I ever did. I think I kept dodging it. I was like, well, I don't want to think about it. No, I don't want to think about it. But it was fine. Like eventually I don't know how, but I found my way. Yeah, it's been interesting. Ups and downs, definitely. But I know where I'm going now. It's easier.
Knowing.
How about yourself? How was it? Was it easier? How was your process when you got home? Because I know that you also did it too.
Right, because, and I love how you mentioned human design, because I'm just finding out about mine, you know, taking the time to realign with what it is. And it's like, they said it's a 2-4. So that's me. And I'm a generator. So you know about generators?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
but you're not a generator, are
interesting.
you?
No, I'm a projector.
Projector. So projectors and generators, are they the ones that go good, or
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay. So I think I'm the person I'm supposed to wait on things, or I'm supposed to listen and wait, and then when something comes to me, then I act on it, something like that. But a projector is different. What's the projector type?
We also need to wait for, they say, wait for the invitation. So it's kind of the same.
Okay.
But then in terms of like how you decide on doing things, you have to do what they call a soundboard. So you talk to people about it, and then you hear their sort of opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not because of their opinions, it's to hear about it, but then sort of wait it. And when you listen, you actually know if you agree with that or not, because you're weighting it, you're sort of judging it, and then you understand what your feeling is towards that answer, or towards whatever that is.
Okay.
So yeah.
Very interesting.
So I remember I'm a like hermit something. Can't remember what a hermit. But you have hermit
Yeah,
too, right? Yeah.
and then I'm the 4 as well. So we're both hermits.
That's cool.
That makes sense. It takes one to know one.
Yeah, definitely. I have to remember now which gates mine are like. Oh, I can't remember, but I know that like some of the gates that I have
Yeah.
open are from like here down, like down here. So whatever is like highest, like my third eye, all of it is like easy. That's me. But here down, that's not me anymore. It's like everyone else. Like you can just, my head is mine, but the rest is not mine.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever I'm feeling, like hunger or confused, or those things won't be like from the actual so lighted chakras. Yes.
Okay. And I think the only thing defined, I have my sacral. My sacral is like defined or something. That center is very active within me. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Mine is not defined.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's interesting how all these different centers, how when they're defined, undefined, open, closed, they have different, it's like the energy moves differently,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Wow.
And I think, well, and when I read about it, it was like, they say I'm a head projector because my only centers that are defined are in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that I'm sort of like, I'm good at projecting ideas
Mm-hmm.
and actually being able to talk to people about what I have here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Okay.
But whatever else is related to like feelings and emotions and everything else is just way too blurred for me. So I have to take it, slow, and actually try to understand what's mine and what isn't. So yeah.
Okay. So how does that help you when it comes to like manifesting? When you're understanding yours and what's not, and projecting in that way, how does that help you?
I think because whenever we talk about manifesting, we have to talk about energy, right? So energy manifests, and matter is energy as well. So thinking about it, it's easy for me to visualize whatever I want to manifest, because that works well. Like my head works okay. I can actually see it and see myself doing it or living it or whatever. So that helps. But I have to sort of make sure that whatever I'm visualizing is what I want and not what someone else's want, So that's the only thing for me. So I have to be able to understand what's my wish and what I want to manifest, and what's not mine, and it's not my business, So it's just, that's the thing for me. For yourself, how does that work? For like, 'cause sacral helps with manifesting a lot, but how does that work then? How do you see it?
The one thing that has definitely worked the most for me, I feel, and this was never who I was before, but definitely become who I am now, is action,
Makes sense.
You laugh. Why you laugh?
That makes a lot of sense.
Because one of my friends told me, Elisa, that half of attraction is action. We forget that the word is inside. We talk the law of attraction. The law of attraction is in there. So I was like, oh wow, what would happen if I just take action? And someone was like, okay, action is the measure of intelligence, you know? It's not always how much I know, but what I do with what I know, you know? How do I apply all these things that I'm learning? So when I started to put the energy out, that's what I started receiving. So that's been the best thing for me. One of the best books that I could ever recommend that helped me in that is Jeff Olson's book. It's called The Slight Edge. You ever heard of this?
No. Well, maybe in Portuguese. I'll have to check what the title is in Portuguese.
Yeah, it's a book by Jeff Olson. It's called The Slight Edge. Totally recommend it. Changed my whole life. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I'll look into that. I have to read it if I haven't yet. But that makes a lot of sense because whenever I'm like visualizing way too much and I don't really act on it, things won't, and that's for everyone, right? Things don't really happen if you're like dreaming and, you know, just thinking about it, but you don't do anything about it, it won't happen. So, yeah.
Right. You know, one of my favorite, like, motivational people, like, was Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee had a quote that if you think too long about a thing, you'll never get it done. You know? And that was me, you know? I mean, all throughout college, all throughout, you know, my schooling, oh my gosh, that was what was ruling my life, was procrastination. And I identified with being a procrastinator and justified it to the point where I was like, okay, I'm cool not getting things done. I'm cool with that. You know, that's who I am. But it caught up to me, you know? Came a time where I didn't feel good about that version, that identity that I had linked, you know? It didn't sink every time I would overthink. So, yeah.
And that's like just something that came up to me. How was your sort of like eating habit back then? Was it different? Because if you think of it, like whenever we talk about mind and how it works, and if you're actually talking and walking the talk, you know, like anyway, you have to talk about what you're eating too, because whatever we have in our guts will just be here too. So how was that?
Right, exactly, Elisa. Like you said earlier when you talked about guidance, you know, my guts, since my guts were gunk up, it was blocking all the guidance, you know? So I didn't have those gut feelings. I didn't have that intuition. What is that, you know? I was dreaming. I couldn't even tell, you know, I would wake up and just be in a daze, you know, be in a haze, that brain fog. So I was very carnivorous, you know, I was eating all sorts of animal products, animal flesh, everything you can think of, you know. I had all the sugars, the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, the Lucky Charm, the cookie, you know, like all this stuff, everything on the shelves, and, you know, everything else. And all the spicy things, the hot wings, the rotisseries, and like everything. It was never enough. You know, the ego was never satisfied. So along with all the stuff that I had to pour on, you know, condiments and things to make it taste better because it wasn't natural, you know? But later on, it wasn't until, and this was a very shifting moment. There were two defining moments, I would say, where it shifted me, you know, this direction. I was going here, and then I went just a little bit, and then I went over there. Kind of like a golf ball, you know, if somebody like stand one way, they swing one way, the ball will, you know, it'll go one way. But if they just make a millimeter, like change, just position themselves a little, you know, the ball will go a completely different direction. So the first one was when I was with my uncles and aunties in California, Riverside. There was a gentleman, and he was a physical trainer. He was a trainer, a coach at a gym, and he would be with and he's this tall dude, taller than me. You know, I'm 6'3". He's taller than me. He's buff, you swole. Everybody in the house, Elisa, they're all eating, you know, sausage links and bacon and you know, everything, right? Pork, all sorts of stuff. Boy, you better get this meat. This meat is good, you know, telling people to come and get this, like getting mad at you if you didn't eat what they're cooking. And so this man, who is very good looking, he, he's telling me that he doesn't eat any of that. You know, he's like,
Mhm.
no, I've been for a long time. Like, I've been vegetarian. I even went vegan. He's like, when I stopped eating meat, I feel like Superman. I was like, what? Superman? He's like, yeah, man. Like, ever since I stopped, I felt like Superman. I was like, what? You know, you're the buffest dude in here. You're the most fit dude in here. You're the most athletic in here. You don't eat meat. So then that kind of led me a little bit. Then when I saw the documentary Earthlings, you ever seen that one?
Oh yeah, that was the one that actually made me turn vegetarian when I was like 15 or something. So yeah.
15? You've been since you were 15?
Well, vegetarian and then vegan when I was 21, I think. Yeah.
God, I can only imagine, you know? It wasn't until I was 28, so that I even, you know, when I watched that, everything shifted. So you already know, like what you
Mhm.
saw in that documentary, you know, I got very emotional, and it no longer even was about health. It was no longer even about longevity. It became about the animals, you
Yeah.
know? Like, what have I done? What was I thinking? What life was I living, you know? So that kind of shifted me. And then just like yourself, I had the inspiration to go further. So thank you for the question, you know?
No, that's really nice to hear, and that's interesting because not many people watched Earthlings down here. Like whenever we talk about um, what sort of documentary or film maybe moved them towards this too, because most people will go through that. They'll listen to other people talking. Most people didn't really watch that one. It would be, what's the name of that one? Either like for the earlier one out now, Cowspiracy or like Food Matters. I think that's the name of it. And Forks Over Nights, I think as well. So yeah, not many people watched Earthlings, and it's an older one, so it's really good. Yeah, it's really raw too, so it's good.
It is, you know, and it's hard for a lot of people to watch. You know, a lot of people I've noticed would rather not, you know, even though they know something within them knows they don't want to see it, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
People have that sort of they want to avoid it, but they're still eating it and living it, and yeah. Well, my dad ended up watching it, and then he became a vegetarian too. And he's a lot older.
Wow.
He's 80, 89 now. Yeah, my
Oh,
dad's 89.
you inspired him to watch it?
Yeah, I was like, you have to watch it, Dad. And then yeah, he decided to go vegetarian, not vegan. He said I can never be vegan, but before he used to say he could never be a vegetarian. So yeah, that's a win-win.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So Elisa, you said you watched it at 15 and that
Mm.
changed the trajectory of your life. What was in your consciousness at that age that inspired you to watch that?
That's a really good question. I have no, oh, actually, I remember it now. I used to, well, I went to Catholic
Mm.
school, and then after school, I'd always have lunch in this, I think it was a Japanese place, or is it Chinese? I can't remember, but it was like a Chinese or Japanese restaurant, and they had lots of vegetarian food as well. And then I started trying it, and I enjoyed it. And there's one day that the lady that was the owner, she came and sat down and she was like, "Can I talk to you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I see you coming here every day, blah, blah, blah. You should watch this movie." And then she gave me the DVD. Back then, it was a DVD. And then I decided to watch it. And well, when I saw it, it's like, it wasn't really much. Like, the DVD was really old, and it didn't really catch my eyes. But I thought, well, why not? It might be good. And that was it. Like, the next day, it was like, vegetarian. No more meat. I don't eat it. I never really enjoyed it. But my family was in the sort of cattle business. So that was just what we had. And it was sort of easy, but I never really enjoyed it. I never questioned why I was eating it. And after that movie, I decided to stop. So it was good.
Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. You know, I would
Yeah.
definitely I challenge people to just watch it, you know?
Mm,
Just watch
for sure.
and like after you see it, then you know, make a choice or make a decision. But if you like, if there's certain things that you, because I had no idea, you know what I mean? I had no idea. It was so beyond me that when I saw it was a shock. It was like my body was like, no, you know, something in my spirit or my soul was like, no, you
Yeah.
know, even though I was conditioned over the years to be on that path, it was like, no, this is no longer resonating. You know what I mean? So yeah, I started to link myself. If you've ever seen like vultures on the street,
Yeah.
you know, I started to look at
Mm-hmm.
those birds, you know, just picking at dead flesh. And then when I went into the grocery store and I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, yeah.
It's a so maybe fresher than food in a way, just because it's refrigerated, but that's it. It's still the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's still yeah, it's crazy how just one habit can change your whole life, you know. Like that thing just so added up to another thing, and then eventually you change another thing and this thing, and then came, oh, fasting. Oh yeah, let's do this. And then that thing also changed, you know, it's just like a roll of changes that will make your life just completely different. So yeah.
Right. Said you're a very visual person, you know, you visualize things and you have a vivid imagination. Could you have ever imagined that you'd be where you are today?
Probably not. Back then, no way. No way. Yeah. And then now, if I think about my future, I have like maybe 1,000 options, but I can't really tell which is going to be. It's fine. It's just like living each day and seeing where it takes. But yeah.
Mm. Does it excite you to not?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I like not knowing. I hate knowing. I actually like whatever, when we talk about not knowing,
Mm.
even like about the brain, we use, even like the people that are the smartest ones, we use maybe up to 10% of it. Like, what the hell is an other 90% doing? Like, I want to know. So, yeah.
Wow.
It's
So
interesting.
so you said knowing, like you like not knowing. Okay.
Yeah, because it makes us sort of feel that there's something bigger, you know, for sure. And we don't really know that much about it, but maybe one day we'll know a little bit more. And that maybe just keeps the, yeah, that's what holds us on the path. So, yeah.
You know, I relate to that so much, Elisa, because one of the things that I was like, thank goodness, was not knowing. Not knowing. Because, you know, my mom's a doctor. So OBGYN, you know, gynecologist for many years.
Oh,
So
same
all
as
that,
my dad. My
yeah,
dad is also a giant. Yeah.
see, there you go. So we come from similar, you know, so all that nutritional knowledge or all that knowledge about health and all that stuff, since I didn't have that, you know, in the makeup of my mental matrix, you know, since I didn't have all that knowledge, it was easier for me to go into this, you know, because if I had all that education up here, I think this would have been a more challenging journey for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Same. Well, because I can also like look at my dad and see how it took him years to actually understand why I was raw vegan. And he was like, this is, you're killing yourself. That's what he said. But then eventually he looked at me, and there was a period for maybe 3 years of my life that I was really into trail running. So, and I ended up being part of the national team for trail running in Brazil. So he was like, "Oh my God, it's paying off, you know." So yeah, it makes sense. And that was the only moment that he was like, "Okay, I give you credit." So yeah, it took him some time. He had to see other people saying, "Yeah, she's good." Yeah,
The
sorry.
monkey,
Yeah,
yeah.
who's going off about it?
So for sometimes for some people, believing, you know, it's like I'll believe it when I see it, you know. While for other people, believing is seeing, You know, they see it up here first with their insight, and then they project it outwards. So that's interesting that you say trail running. So you were already into fitness, because I remember at the end of that video, or towards the middle, you were talking about you weren't really ready to go do an ultra marathon or anything after your fast. So have you done an ultra marathon, or would you ever do one in the future?
I haven't done an ultra one because ultra would be above 42K, and that's quite long for the training that I had. But the longest one that I did was 38K, which is almost a marathon.
Wait,
Um,
38K. Could you put that into perspective?
Miles? Shoot, wait, I have to calculate. Maybe like around 20. It's 1.6, right? So yeah, it's like roughly 25 miles,
Straight?
roughly.
Straight?
Yeah.
Whoa!
Back then, I'm nowhere close to that now. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. It was interesting because I was actually testing it in like a fasted state. So I'd run for like 4 or 5 hours, but I hadn't eaten anything before or nor during. So it was really interesting to actually test it, you know, like being able to maybe run after like a 36-hour sort of fast and still perform well and doing long distance or have maybe middle distance. But anyway. Yeah, so it was good. That was when I was like, okay, there's something to this.
How do you feel it would have been different had you eaten instead of been in a fasted state?
Oh, I tried it sometimes and I felt like crap. I was like, I can't do this. There's too much energy going there, you know, like in the stomach and trying to digest it, and it's just not the same thing. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
So
Lou's wrote down here is like 23.6 months.
calculate. Yeah. Thank you, Louisa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. That's quite the achievement. I've never great. 23 miles. Whoa. Seriously.
I'm nowhere near that now because I started sort of shifting my focus, so I haven't been training that hard, but maybe someday I'll go back to it, and I'm not pushing myself to, so we'll see.
So when you said where do you feel like your focus is today for the majority?
I'm mostly focusing on like sort of more linking the physical aspect with the spiritual aspect. So I see that I do that better with like qigong or maybe yoga. So that helps me more, you know. But I remember that running could be spiritual too. There were days that I felt very spiritual, but I don't know why, because when I started like linking more the sort of performance side of running, because that's where I went towards, I couldn't really look at running as something more like leisure and just, you know, enjoy myself. It was difficult for me to just look into it and say, okay, let's just run, and you know, there's no pressure to do anything, just run. I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, no, running for me now is like performance. That's it. So yeah, so I decided I didn't want to run anymore because it brought up a side of me that I didn't want to sort of focus on anymore. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to pleasure, enjoying yourself, you know, what about dancing? Because dancing was another theme. You know, we just had a little dance dinner the other day where it was us, it was me, you, Fabi, and Camila was there, and we're dancing with each other. And I was looking over, when I watched the replay, I looked at your screen, I was like, oh snap, she get it. Like, so
it was fun.
It seemed like dancing has really been part of your life as well.
Yeah, I dance for myself, so yeah, maybe dancing would be something that I should do more. I don't do as often, I think. I sing more than I dance, like at home, because I live alone, so I don't really bother anyone when I'm singing. Or I actually live with Manga, but anyway, human in this house, just me. But yeah, it's fun.
I would say I dance more than I sing as well. You know, I dance, I roller skate, I dance. I enjoy dancing. That's part of my nourishment, you know? Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. It's special. I think maybe the thing about dancing for me is reminds me a lot of my childhood. Because my mom would force me to go to like ballet classes and tap dancing, and I hated it. I was like, don't force me into doing it. Because maybe it was just because she forced me. Maybe she hadn't forced me into doing it. Maybe I would see it differently. I don't know. But yeah, like I like dancing, but no, I wouldn't. I don't do it daily. Maybe I should do it more.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like one of my friends says, movement, nourishment, you know, like movement
Mhm.
medicine. Yeah. Just one of the ways we move and improve the body, but we feel replenished afterwards or even feel that burst of energy. You know, there's been so many times I'm sure that you've had it where you've had some movement and then you don't feel hungry. It's like you feel satisfied, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the way to go. Like really, instead of just thinking about not eating, just do something else. Like, are you hungry? No, not really. So just do something. Go dance or go swim or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You hit on a great point there. Just do something, you know? Because I think that a lot of times we go to what we're comfortable with when we feel like there's nothing to do or nothing on our hands. So it's like boredom. You know how people say like, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Nicely put. Yeah. So most people will eat out of boredom. Like if you look into it, maybe 70% of the time you're not eating because you're hungry. You're bored and you just want to fill up that void with something. So eating is just easy. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. This has been awesome. This has been awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
Oh,
Let's see. Do we have any questions? I haven't seen any questions
I
coming up.
wonder. I wonder if we do.
We did talk about a lot of stuff. So,
And then
someone asked, "What is this?"
someone
But
asked,
I don't remember. That was like I don't remember what we're talking about. So yeah,
they said, "What is this?"
yeah. I was like, I don't know. I don't have the answers, and I like not having the answers.
Mm,
The journey is not about. Oh, so Cam said something that was nice. Like the journey is not about restriction; it's about freedom.
mm, mm, mm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think. Yeah, that's it. Don't see any questions.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I feel like this conversation has been a manifestation, you know.
For
Thank
sure.
Yeah, we made it
Thank you.
happen. You know, and I trust that we'll be able to make it happen again. I would love to dive even deeper, you know, and to learn.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you for accepting the invitation and for taking time to do this. It was really special.
yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
And blessings. Till next time. Or thank you everyone for joining. Thank y'all.
thank you guys. I'll see you soon. We'll see you
All
soon.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.